In 1989, a tense confrontation unfolded between Princess Diana and Camilla Parker Bowles that would alter the course of royal history. In a moment of raw emotion, Diana demanded, "Don't treat me like an idiot," but what came next shocked everyone. Camilla didn't leave Charles. Diana was 3 years into her torrid affair with James Hewitt. The affair was to last 5 years in all, and only ended in 1991, when James Hewitt left Diana. She didn't end the affair herself. The affair with James Hewitt was her second affair. Prior to that, she had had an 18-month affair with her married bodyguard, Barry Manicky. Diana was, on her own admission, the first to cheat in the marriage. Charles was faithful to Diana for the first 5 years of their marriage. He stuck by her throughout her affair with Barry Manicky, and then through the beginning of her affair with James Hewitt. It was only when Diana had been sleeping with James Hewitt for about 6 months that Charles finally gave up on her. He said their marriage was irretrievably broken and took up with Camilla again. Camilla's own marriage had already broken up because her husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, was an unfaithful playboy and was living with one of his mistresses. Charles and Camilla were both in the same boat at this point in their lives. They each had a rampantly unfaithful spouse and were very unhappy. Diana didn't really want her husband back. She was very much in love with James Hewitt at the time, and there was no way she was going to give him up for her promiscuous lifestyle. The trouble with Diana was that she was insanely jealous and extremely possessive. She didn't really want Charles. He would have cramped her style, but, all the same, she still didn't want him to have anyone else. She might not want Charles, but in her eyes, he was her possession, and he was not allowed to go off with someone else. Remember the old song, "Let Me Go Lover"? It has the following line in it. "You don't want me, but you want me to go on wanting you." Charles could have said that about Diana. Her possessiveness and jealousy weren't just confined to Charles and Camilla. She went on to have more extramarital affairs, most with married men, and she was jealous, predatory, and vindictive towards their wives. She stalked and harassed them. She was investigated by the police about that, and it all got into the newspapers. One newspaper described Diana as a nutcase who preys on the wives of married men. Another simply asked, "Has the Princess of Wales gone mad?" Diana had to be the center of attention all the time, and she expected her lovers and Charles to give up everything and everyone, even their families, and concentrate on her alone. She was not only jealous of her lovers' wives, she also wanted them to abandon their children too. Diana carried jealousy to insane lengths, such as, when she and Charles were first married, she made Charles get rid of his faithful elderly Labrador dog because she said he was giving it too much attention and he should be concentrating on her alone. She was actually jealous of a dog. Later on, after Charles and Diana separated, Charles hired a nanny to help him look after William and Harry. Her name was Tiggy Leg Burke. William and Harry liked her very much, and Diana was so jealous that she forbade the nanny to put the boys to bed at night and various other things of motherly nature. Then her jealousy carried her to really insane lengths. Diana said that Charles and Tiggy were secretly having an affair, and Charles didn't really love Camilla at all, but he was just pretending to do so to cover up the fact that he and Tiggy were an item and wanted to get married. Diana also said that Charles had got Tiggy pregnant, but she had had an abortion. All lies, of course. Tiggy was absolutely furious. She was going to sue Diana for slander, but she settled for Diana making a public apology instead. Of course, this debacle was all on the news and in the papers. So with this level of possessive jealousy, it is not surprising that Diana was incensed at Charles finding happiness with Camilla, even though she didn't want him herself anymore. She regarded it as a personal insult, and she wanted to make him suffer. Most of all, she wanted to make Camilla leave him. Some people think that she really wanted Charles back because she wanted to be queen one day. There may be something in that, but I don't personally think it was the main reason. For one thing, Diana lived in the present moment. She didn't worry about the distant future, and she would know that if she ever did become queen, she would be about 60 years of age by then and would have lost her looks. Diana also deliberately broke up 3 marriages and was cited in the Julia and Will Carling divorce case. Through all this, she never seemed to see the irony of her own behavior in vilifying Camilla and Charles for their one-love affair. She was such a hypocrite. She played the part of a wronged wife herself, without a thought for the misery she was deliberately causing the wives and children of her paramours. Both Charles and Camilla knew all about Diana's lovers, of course. They knew that it was Diana herself who had broken her marriage up, not them. Also, they both knew that the last thing she really wanted was to have Charles back and have to be a proper supportive and faithful wife to him. Diana was being far, far more unfaithful to Charles than he was being to her, and she was enjoying it. But she wasn't going to allow him to have even a little happiness with Camilla. Charles really needed someone he could trust and love, someone who loved him in return. If Camilla had done what Diana wanted and left Charles, then Diana still wouldn't have been there for him. After all, she was the one who left him in the first place. She wouldn't have changed her lifestyle at all. Remember, at the time when she told Camilla that she wanted her husband back, Diana was in the middle of her 5-year affair with James Hewitt, a man that she said she was very much in love with. If Charles had gone back to Diana, then she wouldn't have packed up with James Hewitt. In fact, Diana wouldn't have changed her lifestyle at all, and Charles would have been left without anyone for love and support and companionship, while Diana just carried on going from one man to another and spitefully undermining and humiliating Charles at every opportunity. Charles would have been in a terrible state then. He really needed Camilla. Camilla was the one who loved him, stood by him, supported him, and cared for him. So that is why Camilla didn't leave Charles, and now, the vast majority of the British people are very glad she didn't. Though Diana's life was marked by scandal, betrayal, and heartbreak, she will forever be remembered as the people's princess. Her emotional depth, vulnerability, and ability to connect with the public have made her a beloved figure, even in the wake of the chaos she often stirred in her personal life. Despite her fierce jealousy and complex relationships, Diana's legacy endures, not just in the history of the royal family, but in the hearts of millions who admired her strength, beauty, and courage. She may have lost Charles, but she left an indelible mark on the world that no one will ever forget.